Are you ready to break through the mental barriers holding you back? Welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Dawn Grant. Since 2001, Dawn has been guiding elite athletes like PGA Tour champions, Olympians, and world champions, and everyday individuals toward peak performance. With a proven track record, including helping Vijay Singh win the 2008 FedEx Cup, and her PGA Tour clients averaging a 219% increase in earnings. Dawn knows what it takes to succeed. She's the inventor of the Mind Mastered app, author of 7 Strokes in 7 Days, a sought-after speaker worldwide, and the proud owner of Amelia Shotgun Sports in Northeast Florida. Join us as we dive into powerful strategies, inspiring interviews, and Dawn's unique insights to help you excel in every area of your life, sports, career, relationships, and beyond. And now, here's your host, Dawn Grant.
Hey folks, welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence. I appreciate all of your wonderful feedback and all of your questions and suggestions and input and of course, all of the guests that have been helping me build this podcast and get the word out there as to secrets of excellence, not only from those that help teach and train and help people along the way to being their best selves, but their own experience in excellence and how they've been able to take care of themselves and excel in their different areas of their lives. So today I have Liz Illig, and I'm super excited and thankful that you are here. And I'd love for you to give some highlights to let people know what they're going to get from this conversation today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And I'm really excited to be here. I have a really interesting kind of entrepreneurial story just in general. And so it's fun to be a creator for the last, I would say 12, 15 years. And then I look back at everything I created, and everything I created were literally stepping stones to where I'm sitting today. And so
Yes.
super unique, and like we each have our journey, we have our narrative of our stories, like all of those things, and then you get to look back and go, whoa, I didn't even think I was doing it.
Exactly. And there's such a big and profound lesson in that, and related to enjoying the journey, right? A lot of times we can be so focused on the end result, and then here you are at a place where you're feeling successful and you can look back and go, wow, there's so many stepping stones in the journey that got me here, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So what are some of your highlights? What are your accomplishments? What is it that you can share?
Yeah, so I would say that I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I learned how to do this through trial and error and through being everything in all of my businesses. So about 12 years ago, I had a successful pet sitting business, and I started getting employees, and I started creating this whole portfolio of clients. And I thought I was working the corporate world, and I put myself through college, and I was in serious debt through college and all of these things. And I said to myself, I want to find another business that's complementary in the pet space. I love animals. And I was at a corporate job, and I was like, I got to get out. But the only way I could get out was I wanted to find something that was already established. And so I found a pet grooming business that was for sale. It was a small brick and mortar, and the lady was retiring. Well, remind you, I had no money to buy a business. So I was looking at a business that I had no money. So I literally took my lunch hours and I went to 7 banks in a 2-week period. And everybody said, you're in your 20s, you have no business plan, you work a corporate job, and you want to open your own business. And I said, yeah, that's what I would want to do. And so one bank out of the 7 said, I'll give you a line of credit. So if you don't know what a line of credit is, the line of credit is they'll give you the money, but it's not like a small business loan with low interest rates. This is an interest rate of 18% or higher.
Right.
And okay, where do I need to sign? And the guy was like, you want to do it? And I said, yes, I want to do it. So I put in my notice and I left a corporate job and I took a huge risk. So part of one of my secrets of excellence is you have to be, I believe, in my opinion, a risk taker. Somebody
Yeah.
that wants to take risks. And I had a lot on the line. I could have filed for bankruptcy. I mean, I could have been at a really weird state. But I said, I'm going to give this my all. And so I knew nothing about grooming. To this day, I've never groomed a dog in my life. And I own multiple locations now. But I say that in the sense of I was the receptionist. I was the HR director. I was the IT director. I was the salesperson. I was the marketing person. I learned the whole business and I immersed myself in it for many, many years. And I got to a place where I was able to buy existing locations. And as I said, I have multiple locations now. And I would go to networking events to advertise people to come in and bring their dirty dogs into my shop and we could clean them and all these things. And all these business owners would come up to me and say, Liz, I want you to help me do this in my business. And I looked at him, I'm like, you can like your pet into my business, but like I don't offer another service. I'm a business owner.
Right.
I remember I went home to my husband and I said, there was a few people at this event. They want to work with me. I don't know what I could sell them. And he said, you're really good at building systems. And what I mean by systems is documenting processes. And when you do that, you can start delegating to people because you can teach them how you want the process done. So I ended up building a full consulting agency as my second business.
Nice.
And for the past about 7-8 years, I've been helping people build their businesses because I was able to grow and scale. I understand the concept. So I was able to sit in that seat because I did it on my own. And nobody taught me. Everybody asked, like,
Right.
mentor, do you, like, who taught you? And it's like, I literally was self-taught. And
Right.
so that's my second business. And then, I started working a lot in the consulting business, sitting at a computer. And I was struggling with weight. And I thought, oof, I got to do something about this. I need to take some action. And I started looking like I would go to the gym. I think I would eat all the right foods. I just needed to find out like how my body functioned really, really well.
Right.
And so I went into a whole food, plant-based lifestyle and I started losing weight, and I've lost over 50 pounds in a pretty short amount of time. And so now I'm sitting in this seat today helping women, feel very comfortable. I believe every woman deserves to feel good in their bodies. And so I now help women with weight loss. So through this whole journey, I've become all of these, have all these businesses because I've learned and I've discovered and I've literally just immersed myself in all of these different topics around businesses. And so it was a hobby for a while, telling people about my journey and stuff like that. And now I lost all the weight. So then I had women come to me, I want you to help me lose weight. Okay. It into a business. So anyway, so that's the moral of probably why I'm sitting here on this podcast, is because I've been able to have building blocks into each of these things. And so I've come from a place that, I own brick and mortar locations, which can be really, really challenging. I own an online consulting business where I help business owners across the United States. And I now help people with weight loss, and I sell like online products. And so it's just interesting to look at my journey and go, wow, I know how to do all these things. And so I do a lot of business consulting now for people that want to grow and scale their brands.
That's an amazing story. And how exciting. I mean, the kind of domino effect and the little twists and turns, but yet they all are interlocked in some way. That is really cool. It reminds me of years. It's been a while, but 15 years ago or something, people used to say you need to fine tune and pick your clientele and only focus on that. And you're too broad, and I'm like, yeah, it's not broad though, because everything that I'm doing is intertwined. First of all, it's me behind them all, so they've got to be intertwined, right? And, whether I own a brick and mortar, that's a shotgun club. And then I have virtual online clients and online training programs. But it just reminds me of how, I don't know, I've just never gave in to, well, I can only focus on this little bit because everybody says that's how you should market and you need to fine tune it. And somehow it all ties together because I'm behind it and I'm at least the common denominator, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you're the
So
builder. You're the builder, right? And so I think there's a lot of expertise in builders, and you don't find a lot of entrepreneurs that want to build and create. And so here's the thing. I find myself, I don't want to run all my grooming shops, but I want to be the visionary. I want to lead them in good directions. I want to do all these things. But in order to do that, I've had to kind of find my secret sauce in all of these business and where I belong and who else I can hire to help me and assist me. And, so it's just been this work in progress of finding, like, fine tuning it.
ironically, today, I was on social media. I just happened to see a little reel. And it was a guy interviewing, and I'm not certain, the guy's probably popular, whoever he was interviewing, because he's been on the front of like certain magazines and all. But he was like, tell me, was it hard to become a millionaire? He's like, well, actually, according to Forbes, I'm a billionaire, But then he continues, and the guy says to him, was it challenging? And he's like, well, first of all, it's the journey you've got to enjoy. But he also said, if you've not read it, you should read Never Eat Alone. So then I thought, well, I'm curious now. So I'm going to get this audiobook, which may be popular right now because it's free. Like, it's available. I don't know. It's popular right now, apparently. But I listened to the first half of the beginning, and it was about networking and not thinking that you have to know it all, basically, that you can hire out in the expertise, which reminds me of Napoleon Hill's You Were Born Rich. Is that the name of it? Yeah, You Were Born Rich. He had interviewed all of these top wealthy people like Roosevelt and JP Morgan. It was back in that era when they were still alive. And one of my big takeaways from that is what he called mastermind groups, and you don't have to know it all. Like, you can be good at your part, but then you got to be good at hiring people to do the other parts, which I think what you've shared so far is a perfect example of that. Like, you didn't go in planning to do the grooming yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I said the word visionary, is because I do think it's important. Whoever's running the show has to understand what the vision is and how to articulate it, being vision all the way down to the nitty gritty. And an example would be is like, when a customer comes into my grooming shops, what are the first 3 things the front staff does, right? That makes my business unique. That's what I did from the very top. And I started understanding what that looked like. And I articulated how to go and do it, so the brand messaging is consistent across. And so I had the vision, I was the doer and all those things. And now anybody can go do it because I've created a formula that works.
Yes. That's awesome. What's your feeling on a founder, the brains behind it, and delegating so that you're not doing so much of the work and getting like personal assistants or, hiring the right people so that you have some freedom to be the visionary?
100%. And it all starts with people understanding their business and creating systems and teaching how you want it done. So, like, I'm all about delegation. I'm sitting here today because I've actually hired a lot of amazing people that can do it better than I can. And I'll be the first to admit, I say, thanks for allowing this business to shine. It's not even just about me. It's about the impact that so many people can bring their expertise to literally make the company what it is. And so I believe most businesses fall short because they don't spend the time documenting how they want their brand to be displayed, how they want their roles to be created, and articulating. I've always said most people do not stick with a company, business, a brand, anything like that when you don't empower them with knowledge and information. The moment you
Yeah.
empower them with knowledge and information or allow them to do what they do best based on your key best practices, that's when everything shifts. There's just so many businesses that don't spend the time and they wonder why they can't keep on contractors, employees, team members. And so, in this middle business that I have, a consulting agency, that's where I work with my clients to get everything documented so that you have the freedom. You can step out. You never have to be the social media manager. But did you create the framework so that you have a
Right.
successful social media manager?
Yes. Yeah. Nice. Nice. And the way that you entered into being self-employed entrepreneur, I feel like almost forced you in the position of figuring out exactly your structure. Because, I mean, if I'm understanding everything you're saying right, you never intended to be the groomer. Like, you intended to be the business owner. So because of that, you were forced into a position where you're like, well, I've got to come up with these processes and such because I'm not going to be there doing it. And with that, yeah, you ended up coming up with a recipe. That's cool.
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
have to do it. And the only reason I ended up coming up with the recipe and the procedures is because I had one shop and another shop I was opening, and the managers called me at the exact same time and had the exact same question. I kid you not. And they said, "How
Yeah.
do you do this?" And so I merged the calls together and I had to speak it once. But I thought,
Yes.
what if I got to a place where I never had to speak it again and it became a process they could follow and they could
Yes.
articulate and they could understand depending on what their learning style was. And that's where I ended up spending a whole entire year creating a standard operating procedure for my business so that I was able to delegate the work out, but still have all the work being done based on what I felt needed to be done.
That's awesome. And a devotion of time for sure. Because what's coming to my
It's a one and done. I tell people spend a little bit of time building out your key fundamental principles for your business to run smoothly or for you maybe be able to sell it in 5 years. You have to, there's so many businesses, I'm shocked. I talk to so many business owners throughout the days that have no processes built and they're wondering why they can't take vacation, why they're struggling, why there's a high turnover rate. You don't have a system in place for your business.
Well, and the big thing coming to my mind is a feeling of freedom that you can let someone go and hire a new one without it stopping your life because you've got to train them. That's where I've noticed it the most. I can end up postponing letting somebody go out of the realization that it's going to impact my time to train the new one. Not find the new one, but then train the new one also.
Well, and
Yeah.
training, as you know, costs a lot of time, energy, and money. It just does.
Yeah.
So if you're not training somebody and you have a high turnover rate, you're spending now more time, energy, and money to get somebody else on board. And I always say, once you have your processes documented, you don't have to waste your breath saying the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, what if I were to tell you this is the last time you're telling this process because you're telling me and I'm actually building out your processes. And
Right.
so, and that's kind of been a unique aspect of my different titles and all these different roles because my grooming shops, I'm, the CEO, the owner. And then in my consulting business, I'm more of a consultant implementer because I don't call myself a coach because I actually help you and do the work for you. So
Nice.
you need a CRM system built out. I'll build it out for you. If you
Oh,
need your
wow.
business built out, I will build them for you based on your knowledge and information. And then I turn into a coach in the health and wellness. So I feel like I have all the best in both worlds in all businesses. I have
It's,
different hats I can wear, which is fun.
yes, yes, yes. I can again relate to that. And it literally is a feeling like because I have so many different kettles in the fire. You know, I might get a text from this employee at this business and an email from this business and I don't know, an appointment schedule at this time on this business. And I've had people say to me, how do you do that? You know, and it really feels like, first of all, it's all under the umbrella of me. So it doesn't feel, and none of those feel separate from me, right? But I can come over here and I can wear the hat, you know, for responding to the text and just as quickly switch over to this other business and wear the other hat. And it really feels like that. It feels like it's compartmentalizing, right? And I think you have to compartmentalize when you're juggling a lot of things to stay sane. What do you think about that?
And I think it's a very interesting trait that some people have and some people don't. Some people have it and some people don't. And so like I think learning more about you is like you have it, you can do it. You also have to be very self-disciplined because everybody's counting on you. You have to be able to take projects to the finish line. You have to be the igniter in everything you do because you have nobody above you. So it also
Yeah.
takes a certain person, you know, I always say, if you feel fire in your belly for something, you're doing the right thing because you're motivated, you're inspired. It brings you passion. And I always, I work with a lot of younger individuals and I say, you have to find your passion because once you start doing that, it's not a job anymore. And that's
Yeah.
you're sitting in this place where like you can like you enjoy being able to put on different hats. Like that brings me excitement. Like
Right.
it brings so many unknowns, which I think is kind of fun.
Right. One of the other things I would say I've observed in myself is being a diehard. Like there might be a bump in the road or something doesn't turn out the way I expect, and it might bring me down for a few hours or a day, but I'm right back up fighting by the next morning. It's just
Thank
I'm
you.
just not going down, right?
No, no. And I think that's also a different mentality that people have. Like I'm also a risk taker. So like I do better when there's a little bit more risk involved. Like I'll like fight through it and like make it work. I'll find a solution.
Right. Right. Yeah, so if you were to say from all your businesses, not only your own experience, but also talking to different people, whether consulting or coaching them, um, what would you say maybe are the top 5 personality traits that you think help somebody to be successful or achieve excellence?
I would definitely say integrity. I also believe you have to be your words matter. I think that's really important. Like if you say something, do it. Don't
Yeah.
promise. Don't just do what you say you're going to do. Have integrity. Be disciplined. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. We live in such a fast-paced world. We're just not disciplined people anymore. I also
Yeah.
think being a risk taker, like, and that's really hard. That can be really, really challenging. If the more information I know about myself now and the risks that I took way back in the day, I can't say I would do the exact same.
Right.
But I almost was too young. I didn't understand the consequences. And so,
Yeah.
and I had to really hit the pavement every single day. And I also think you have to earn it. Like you literally have to be in a state where like you have to want something so bad and you have to go make it happen. Nobody else is doing it for you.
Yeah. And it reminds me also, thinking of personality traits and all that, I've observed that there's definitely more of that leader versus the follower. And there is definitely a place for both of these traits, and most of my sons, like he's 25 now, but I've noticed, and he works for me at my shotgun club. I've noticed that he works really well with detail, like instruction, like a list. Like, he loves lists. And when it comes to taking initiative himself, as he's gotten older, he starts to do it a little bit more, but he still loves lists and he loves working off a list and he loves being told what to do. He doesn't even take offense to it. And I've found that really fascinating because I'm the opposite. I mean, I love lists. Don't get me wrong. I love scratching things off a list also. But that initiative and taking the lead is something that I've seen in myself that comes very naturally versus like my son, where it came more naturally for him to be a follower or somebody who liked to take direction and instruction.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement 100%. And I think some of the best employees are followers. And we
Yes.
need followers. I think followers are great. I think not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody
Exactly.
know how to do it. There's not a desire. There's a lot of responsibilities that come with being an entrepreneur. And so I think, having a mix in the world is great because we do
Yes.
people that want to follow lists. They want to help you build something, but they just don't want to do it on their own because they may not financially be able to do it. They may not have the time to do it. They may not have the grit to actually do it. So there's this good, balance between the two.
There is. And I've learned a lot of those, if we call them followers, but I think there's a mix of personality traits that go along with it. And one of them I've seen is they want to be behind the scenes. They don't want to be in the spotlight. They don't want to be up front, visible, acknowledged, put in front of the camera, put on social media. Like, they are comfortable being behind the scenes and doing all that work without the notoriety or something. And I've seen that over and over again when somebody's more of like the follower versus the leader.
Yeah. And I think that also goes to say, like, a lot of people are introvert and extrovert, right? And so it's
Right.
just finding that balance of where what you like to do, right? Somebody that likes a lot of data and numbers may not want to build a business, but want to maybe be the CFO of a company.
Yeah. I'll never forget. This was like 30 years ago. I was married to my first husband, and he owned his own like contracting painting business, painted houses, and he had this one guy that worked for him that didn't even have his license. So my ex-husband would pick up that guy every day, bring him to work. He was the one that would do the painting. He was involved enough to know what the bids were and the amount of money being made versus how much he was getting paid. And I remember, because it boggled my mind, because I have this entrepreneur brain, right? So I remember saying to my ex-husband, my husband at the time, why doesn't he just go do it himself? Like, he's working, getting part of the money. You're getting all the rest of all the money, but you're golfing. Why doesn't he just do it himself? Yeah. And he was like, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want the responsibility. He wants to just show up and leave and never have to think about it the rest of the time. He likes that. And I was like, well, that is really cool. That was really interesting to me because I was not naturally like that, Yeah.
We need
So I guess, yeah. Well, and I was going to say, I think to pull out of that, as far as like a secret of excellence, is to know thyself, right? Like, who are you and what comes naturally and what is your preference? And both are good. And, whichever role that you want to play and what part you want to play is good. I love the way you said, and I'm not going to be able to quote it exactly, but that you could hire all these people that had all these expertise and they love what they do. And so then you're giving them an opportunity to do what they love. And I see it like spokes in a wheel. This was something I used to tell my employees also, like, the wheel is the whole vision that I have as the owner. And literally, I don't have enough hands and feet to do all of the parts of this business. So I'm hiring each of you to play a role, and you're all the spokes of this wheel. So, it's still got to be my way to, I'm not going to say 100%, but, I've got to have the overall say and how I want things done. But I need you to follow that. But then, of course, you bring in your own skills, your personality and everything. But the wheel and the spokes and the tires, one of the ways that my brain sees that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think a lot of my businesses, I'm a very operational person. So from an ops perspective, I know how to run a whole company. I know how to function. I know the whole process from start to finish. But part A, B, and C, I need to bring in excellent people to fill in what I don't know. But I know the framework, I know the objective, I know where we're going, I know how to get there, but I bring in these vessels to get it
Right.
done, to take it to the finish line.
Nice. Nice. Well, let's go over to your health and nutrition and your coaching on it. So I'm really curious. You said that you went whole food vegetarian,
Yes. Yep.
plant-based,
Yep.
plant-based.
Yep. I'm plant-based, so I mostly starches and vegetables. And I have been thriving for the last 5 years. I've lost over 50 pounds. And so just following this framework, understanding my relationship with food and, exercise, being a very disciplined person has definitely helped in my weight loss journey and where I am today. And so it's just been such a beautiful journey, because I think, every person just has to start figuring out which foods their body thrives on. And so that's why I say, like, a whole food plant-based. Like, you decide what makes you feel good and start
Yeah.
doing it and see how your body responds. But, I cut out, processed food. I cut out, a lot of different things that just were not serving me. And, how I can live the most optimal life. And that is through this way of eating.
Nice. And you look amazing, and your skin is glowing. Like you overall look very healthy, which is really cool to see. Yeah.
You're so sweet. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
That's the one thing I said at the very beginning is I believe, specifically women, you deserve to feel good in your body. And so you have to
Yeah.
discover that. You have to unpack that. As much as people are addicted to food nowadays. Like, this wasn't
Yeah.
something was happening in the 50s, but a lot of our food is chemically engineered. And
Mhm.
starting to understand your relationship with food, what kind of foods you eat, how your body makes you feel. So, I eat all organic. I have a very, I would say it's easy for me, but most people would say, Liz, you're pretty out there. Like, I have non-toxic living. I only wear organic clothing, organic cotton clothing. So, once I started getting healthy, I've now laser focused even more into my skin products, what I put on my skin, what's in my house, how, like,
Yes.
overall, no plastics. I've literally transformed and have gotten to my optimal weight, but also my, like, optimal way of living. I just know how to live,
Yeah.
and it's taken out a lot of guesswork. It's also taken out a lot of what should I do next? Like, I know
Yeah.
we struggle with, like, the next best thing, or I want to do this, or I want to follow this person. I want this, this, this. It's like, pick your lane, find out, how you want to eat. What is your purpose? What is going to be your blueprint, and start following that. And so, I'm
Right.
a very disciplined person, very schedule oriented. It goes back to one of those character traits. If you say you're going to do it. Whether that's
Right.
somebody you're working for or working with, but do it for yourself. Start rewiring your brain about how you feel about yourself, and start showing up in a capacity that you never believed you could.
Nice. That's all awesome. As a hypnotist, going back, 25 years when I first started doing hypnosis, it was to help people either quit smoking or lose weight. Those were the popular topics. And then I would get in a few like that: fear of flying, or fear of bridges, or, being in Florida, it could be fear of lizards. But my original training was to give suggestions of half portions at mealtime, lots of water, 3 meals a day, healthy snack in the afternoon. Like, that was it. And I did it because that was my training, and I personally didn't know more than that. And So, and coming at it from a hypnotist angle, it was also beliefs and emotions and programming. And what do you do at this time? And how do you celebrate, related to food and drink? And what are your habits, basically? That's all addressed through hypnosis. And, but I started seeing things like, again, going back to beliefs like, well, when I hit 40s, I gain weight and that's what happens. Or when I hit my 50s, and every woman in my family is like this. So this is just the way it is. So there's like these beliefs and such. And I'm 54 right now. When I hit 40, I started putting on weight. And I always was the skinny, like, oh, you should eat more. And when I hit 40, I started putting on weight. And I became my own little science project. Because I always knew exercise. I've got a muscular body. I always knew exercise would be kind of a quick fix, but I wanted to understand what foods am I eating that's causing this. So I tried vegan and vegetarian. I tried juicing, then I tried cleansing and master cleanses once a year and eating clean. I've tried all these different things. Absolutely, the one that worked the best for me was clean eating. Whole foods. It did have some meats in it, but it was whole foods, and it obviously like no packaged foods and preservatives, and it cut out dairy. Also, it cut out alcohol. It cut out caffeine. But my skin was glowing. I felt great. I had amazing energy. I lost like 20 pounds in that month that I did it. But for me, it was just hard to maintain at the time. And what I've learned, not only going through it for myself, but then continuing to help clients, is it's quite the undertaking to not only learn information, especially because labels, they'll lie to you. You have to do your own research. You have to do your education. And, shopping around the perimeter sounds great, but if you're in a hurry, or there's always the same things you always buy, or you're starving because you haven't eaten that day, or like whatever, there's so many elements at play. More than anything else that I've ever helped somebody with. And I find that really interesting because, when you say, first I started eating better for my body, and then it became what you wear and your lotions and your face products and, no plastic in your house. What I feel like is, you almost have to tackle one at a time because there's so much to tackle. But then once you've done that, and you said you've established some routines or whatever, like your go-to foods now, and what you can buy and where to find them in the grocery store and what you can believe. Like there's so many things that then you could move on to the next category, is what it sounds like.
100%. And why would you not take care of your body? Your body is giving you life. Your body's an asset, right? And that's the one thing that I think we lose sight as, specifically women. We're always making sure that people around us are being taken care of, and we sometimes forget about ourselves. But if you're around, you're not going to be able to take care of those other people. So it is an urgency for women to feel good in their bodies and to find what health looks like for them and take matters into their own hands, one step at a time. Maybe you just don't go through the center aisles anymore. Maybe you just start making one meal a day at home. Start small. But once you start seeing the effect that you can make by eating, whatever you decide, and your body starts changing, you start loving your body more. So you're going to nourish it with food. You're going to nourish it with healthy products. It's been a stepping stool, and so, a lot of people that have seen my 5-year journey, they saw weight loss, they saw certain things. But the thing that they didn't see is they didn't see what I did every single day to get me where I am. They didn't see that I was so disciplined. I got up and walked 3 miles every single day with a weighted vest in 2023, 2024. I do the same thing today. They don't see the little things that took place in order to get me where I am today.
Right.
And that's, I think, the biggest change happens when nobody knows it's happening. You just do it yourself. And that you can't do this for anybody else. You have to take health and wellness into your hands. You're the only one that's putting food in your mouth. You're the only one that's going to get yourself up off of the sofa at night to go for a walk. You are in control of your story, whether that be your personal story, your business story, anything like that. You narrate how you are going to live this life. And, I stand and true to that. And
Right.
I lead my life as that, and I show up as that through integrity.
Right. Right. I'm a huge proponent of say what you mean and mean what you say. And I definitely live by that myself. And I agree. Like that is huge. I had set an intention for myself because, I do so much with suggestions for hypnosis, which then means I understand affirmations and such. And I'm like, okay, so what's mine, And I want to live a long, healthy, active. Like, I don't want just a long life and healthy. Like, I want to be able to be active. I want to be able to have a loving, joy-filled life. So I have this statement, I'm living a long, healthy, active, joy-filled, loving life full of amazing experiences. And there are so many lines underneath that because if that's my overall, then that means healthy. All right. Well, Dawn, you don't always drink enough water and fluids. And so, and then I make myself a hypnosis audio to drink more water. And then I sell it to other people because they've got to be out there too. But there's routines I've learned. And I tell people like, I have to, you got to be moldable. So I might think, well, I'm going to make my water in the evening and the amount that I want to drink the next day. But then I would put it in the fridge or something and then forget about it. Right. So now I make it in the morning, and then I add my electrolytes and I add my BCAA. Like I'm doing all this stuff. But this is what I just learned about myself. If I don't do that first thing in the morning, and I usually do it when my coffee's brewing, then the next thing you know, I'm in my day, right? I'm in the text or the emails or I'm meditating or I'm doing my exercise. And next 4, 5, 6 hours have gone by and I haven't drank anything. So it's like learning who you are and being okay with continually reassessing and adjusting to figure out how to do it better the next day.
Yeah. Habits and behaviors. Habits and behaviors, right? You get to decide what your habits and behaviors are. We have good habits and behaviors and we have bad habits and behaviors. So you have to adjust based on who you want to be, based on your habits and behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. At the same time, I've found that weight loss clients tend to be the ones that feel what I would consider the most hopeless, meaning they have tried so many things that they end up losing hope. And then they're not always as proactive as, let's say, my other clients in doing the work and getting things done. There's some very interesting level of lack of motivation or lack of desire or not wanting to get their hopes up again or something where they don't always take all the steps. Mm-hmm. And what I've observed with that is then they can kind of get in this little hamster wheel of feeling like funky. And then there's their motivation even lower. And they got to be able to break that cycle. So how do you help them break that cycle?
Yeah, so I always start, everybody starts a program, starts working with a coach because they want to take action and they're excited. And so you have to get them to a place where they're starting to take that action. Then you have to start allowing them to create some momentum. They start feeling better. They start losing weight. They keep their commitment with themselves. Then we need to transfer momentum to consistency. Consistency is who you are. You start doing the same thing over and over again and you see good results. And then you move them from consistency to discipline. And
nice.
I'm telling you, when you become a disciplined person, nobody can stop you in your tracks. Consistency, maybe, but once you become disciplined, it becomes who you physically are.
Yeah.
And physically know who you are, your habits and behaviors lead. They lead you, right? Like discipline, I wake up every single morning and I go for a walk, a 3-mile walk at least with a 20-pound weighted vest. I've done it for 2.5 years. I have not skipped a day. That's
Nice.
discipline. That's
Right.
somebody showing up for themselves that doesn't even think twice about it because they are just taking action because they know who they are. They know how it makes them feel. You've rewired your brain.
Yes. I love that. That's something I've observed with runners. I live in an area where there's a lot of it's nice out, right? So there's a lot of people that run or jog, and I see a lot of the same people and the ones that are friends. I've always found that level of discipline and commitment really fascinating because if it's 15 miles and that's what they do, they're going to do it. And at this one point, I had a lady that worked for me that was one of those runners, and I don't remember. I think she did 10 miles every day or something like that. And she worked for me. And so we traveled out of town for an event. And here we were, like out of routines and staying at an Airbnb and needing to be at the event, whatever, let's say 8 o'clock or something. And every morning, even though she was in a different place, she was going to get her 10 miles in. And I was like, I love that. Like, it was who she was, like you said.
Yeah. It's ingrained in you. No, nobody can take it away from you. Once you become a disciplined person on whatever aspect, I'm very disciplined in my businesses. Like nobody can take something away from you when it's ingrained in you, when it's your identity, right? Like discipline becomes
Right.
your identity. And so just a lot of people never get to discipline because they can't even get the consistency factored.
Hmm.
They
Right.
they can't even get to a place where they're just consistent. They do the same thing. I tell my clients, let's be boring for a little while and see what boring does for you. Boring will be the best thing you've ever done in your life because it will transform you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it. A lot of times I would imagine the consistency doesn't come because, and this is something I've learned over the years as a hypnotist, this wasn't early on, there's something else they're consistent at instead.
Sure.
Meaning, well, I didn't get to the gym on Monday and I've been wanting to start at the gym and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not because I just can't seem to find time for it. And it's more like, well, what is already taking your time that you're consistently doing, if I throw that word in there? You already have a habit. So not only are you looking to create a new habit, but you need to overcome and stop the other habit. And it could be whatever. It could be sleeping in the morning. It could be, well, the first thing I do for 2 hours is sit and drink my coffee, or just jump right on emails and texts and work or whatever. Like whatever else is happening consistently and is their habit. And it's keeping them from starting the other habit with consistency.
Yeah. Each person can make time for what's important. There's no excuse.
Yes.
There's no excuse. And so, it's a little tough love that I give people, but you can find time. You may have to wake up 30 minutes earlier. You may have to stay up 30 minutes later. You may have to get off social media a little bit. You may need to restructure your day. You may need to time clock your activity. We do things that matter, that are important to us. And so that just means when people don't take that action, it's not important enough to you.
Right.
It's just
the way I say it is you make time for what you want to make time for. That when I was, 15 years, I was in the dating world and single, and, different guys that I would date over this time and getting to know them. And, I remember this one guy who's like, and he would want to be in a relationship, but I wouldn't necessarily hear from him for a few days or so. And he was like, I was just too busy. And I was like, well, you make time for what you want to make time for. And he was like, but, and I'm like, well, this is not to be rude, but did you have time to pee? Because you can make time for whatever you want to make time for. So there's for me, in the dating world, there was a message. It wasn't to change that person. It was to pay attention to what did they make time for. And so that would carry over to everything, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. So you had said a little while ago that people should basically listen to their body and whatever kinds of food make them feel the best. How do you suggest they do that? Is that trial and error or just, kind of tuning into their experience over the years? And is that super literal, meaning eat this and see how it makes you feel?
Believe we need to go back to whole foods. Whole foods, whatever state of whole foods. I think we need to be eating whole foods. We need to, if a label has more than 6, 7, 8 ingredients, we probably shouldn't be consuming it. I mean, why
Right.
adding all of these things? And so, I also think it's also based on a belief system. What do you believe in?
Right.
Let that also tailor to where you want to be. But I think it's going into a whole food, and then you decide which whole foods. What is your belief system? Some people want to eat meat, some people don't. Some want dairy, some people don't, right? It's like you can go create whatever. And then, like you said, eat it, see how you feel.
Yeah.
And start discovering if you're eating dairy, sometimes people break out on their faces. Okay, you may need to cut out some dairy. And so just start discovering what that looks like for you. But also your belief systems may gear you in
Right.
direction as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. What's your thoughts on eating according to your blood type?
I
Have
haven't.
you dabbled in that?
No, I haven't. I've heard a lot of people are moving to that. It's not something I can really.
I know, haven't really looked into it. I've actually not personally read the whole book, and it's been around for a little while, but I had observed something pretty fascinating, probably 15 years ago, out with a girlfriend and a group of people, and just, I just heard her. She said something like, "I can't drink red wine, it makes me crazy." And I just thought that was an interesting thing for her to say, because she was very much like, there's no TV in her house. She made, fresh smoothies every day. Yoga. She was a yoga instructor. She meditated. If you walked in her apartment, you were going to pick an angel card and see what your little, thing was for the day. Like, she was very grounded. And I'm thinking, well, what happens to her? I saw it like a few months later. She drank red wine and she became very violent. Like, this other side of her came out, and I was like, oh, okay. So then, fast forward, and I have this other friend who decided to become vegetarian, and it was just this year period. And somewhere near the end of the year, was like, I've been so sick this year. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And, you never know. Could be what you're eating or not eating or exposed. She has a dance studio, so kids are coming in and out and everything. But then she said in conversation out somewhere that she can't drink white wine because it makes her crazy. And I was like, I remember somebody else saying that, but about red wine. And then she just said it about white wine. So then I kind of, picked her brain a little bit. And we came across that book, and she looked up her blood type, and it literally said she should not drink white wine or red or whatever it was, white wine. And according to her blood type, that she shouldn't be vegetarian, like she should eat a lot of red meat and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that is crazy because of the wine thing. And anyways, it just always stood out in my mind with that. I've recently looked into the blood types with my husband and I, and my husband loves steak. Like, he is a carnivore. Like, he loves it. But if you look it up in the book with his blood type, he shouldn't be eating any red meat. They shouldn't, according to this book, be eating any red meat at all. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe that. He loves it. And he doesn't feel bad when he eats it. It doesn't seem to give him a reaction of any kind. So, yeah, that's why I was curious, because I've seen some things pointing towards it, and then I've seen other things not,
Yeah, and I do think it goes back to what your belief systems are. You may believe that, so go down that lane, right? And
Yeah.
I never will be one to tell people how to eat. Go discover yourself, because that is something that your body is the only one that can make that decision, but it's also based on your belief system.
There's so many things. I've even had like blood work and all done that has told me that I needed to be careful with gluten, but I've personally never noticed anything. And there are periods of time that I've not eaten anything with gluten. And then if I eat it, I don't know. I just haven't noticed it. So then I'm like, well, this is interesting because my blood work tells me not to eat it. So I think, like you said, you got to just trust and pay attention. Like, you are your own little science project and pay attention to your own signals and your own information and own feedback. And yeah, and I would say take it a little baby steps at a time, because it's a lot to overcome to learn to eat right. Um, you have to plan, you have to prepare. You got to take the time to find recipes other than your go-tos that you've done, especially when you're short on time. And then you've got to plan that grocery shopping differently and to be longer period of time, because these are all new things for you to find and to buy and to learn. And it's probably fruits and veggies you've never even heard of before, There's many layers to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely is.
Cool. What would you say if you were to give like one magic pill, one piece of wisdom insight to the listeners? What would it be?
Say find something that you're passionate about and go all in. And that can be, you could be passionate about your health and wellness. That could be passionate about starting a business. That could be passionate about being the best employee possible. But find something that gives you passion, gives you something, a purpose, and literally take that and start consuming yourself around it. And I believe some of the most happiest people are people that have purpose and are passionate about something, and they have a force within them that wants it so bad.
Right. Do what you love and love what you do.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's great that you're one of those examples of having been in the corporate world and fearlessness to step away from it. And because that's like financial security. There's so many aspects to it. At one point, I had learned about archetypes, and they're kind of these staples. They're unconscious within all people. Like one of them could be that you have this teacher archetype, right? Like you're just a natural teacher, which is, I can definitely see that in you as one of them. But when I studied archetypes, it said that every human has 4 archetypes, and one of them's called the prostitute. And what that means is that every human has the capacity within them to prostitute themselves out, meaning they will stay with a job or they'll stay in a relationship for security, even if they're not happy. If you think about that, that means you're getting paid to do something that you may not even really love. And that's why they call it like the prostitute archetype. I guess it ties into this conversation. There's another one that all humans have, and that is the saboteur, meaning Monday I'm going to start eating right, or Monday I'm going to start exercising, and then Monday comes and we'll sabotage ourselves with some excuse.
Yeah.
So it's good to know.
Go.
Say again?
Mondays come and Mondays go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of your success. And I love the way that you create processes, because you even had like a step-by-step related to when you're doing health coaching with somebody, right? It was like this step, and then they get to this, and then they get to consistent, and then they get to discipline. And that's that part of your brain, that sees these procedures and processes. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
You have that. And yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you allowing me.
For sure. I want to tell listeners that there is free goodies and opt-ins for any of my 3 businesses at dawngrant.com/free. And definitely follow on social media, because I give free tips and lots of reels and videos several times a week. And Liz, would you like to share your contact info?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, contact me, any of the businesses, you can contact me at Liz, and it's going to be my last name, ILLG, at lizillig.com.
Nice. And so that's your website then also?
Yeah.
lizillig.com.
Yeah, you can visit that. Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, and continued success in every single thing that you're doing is so inspiring. And thanks for helping me inspire others and to share your secrets of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Don Grant. Whether you're an elite athlete or pursuing success in your career or personal life, Don Grant's expertise and insights are here to guide you. Don't forget to visit dongrant.com/free to grab your exclusive free resources, hypnosis audios, mental training tools, and even a golf cart at her club. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow, rate, and share this podcast. Stay connected with Dawn on all social media platforms for more inspiration, tips, and updates. Remember, mastering your mind is the key to unlocking your full potential. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and striving for excellence.